are live with Patrick Jackman of the Jackman Group. I'm excited that he's here with us because he's going to be talking with us about finding our leadership abilities. I'm not sure, but so I am excited about finding my own leadership abilities. That's why I'm excited. Um, yeah, I put in a poll on LinkedIn about if leaders are made, will you still need training? Or if leaders just come with the stuff. So we actually have with us Patrick Jackman of the Jackman Group, who trains leaders. So let's welcome Patrick Jackman.
Erica, thank you so much for the opportunity. Shout out to the Virtual Summiteers and the Chief Summiteer, Erica Bates. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Certainly, as you know, when Erica calls or messages you, there are only certain people when they call or message and says, "Hey, can you do something for us?" They're only certain. There's a small amount that I say yes to without reservation. And Erica is one of those small groups that I say yes to. So, Erica, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Let me, if I can, if you're in the chat, let me know who's out there and where you are from. So if you can drop it in the chat so that we can be more familiar, right? Because when I'm training in person, I'm accustomed to getting engagement. I'm accustomed to seeing people. So having just me can be a little taxing. So show me some love and let me know where you are watching from, where you are right now, and we can go ahead and do that. But while you're doing that, I think Erica put a poll up earlier, as she said, and I'm going to reference that as we go forward. But today's topic is specifically on finding your leadership abilities. So, my assumption as we go through probably the next half an hour, 45 minutes, I have three assumptions. The first assumption is that the reason why you're here is number one, that you are currently a leader and you simply want some basic information to help you sharpen your skills. So that's one, right? That you're currently a leader and you're here to get some information to take you to the next level or a review. The second assumption that I'm assuming that you're here is that you are new to leadership and you truly are in a knowledge or quest for knowledge to basically get you from the beginning to the next step, right? So that's the second reason or second assumption that you are here. The third assumption that I am taking is that you simply want to attend for the fun factor. You hear that there's some cool nerds on and that you just want to come for the fun. So, whatever your reason for being here is, I want to thank you for coming as we focus on finding your leadership abilities. Now, as we go through this, I'm going to cover three areas. So I'll cover the what, the why, and the how. So I'll cover the what and what is finding your leadership abilities, because that's a long comment or a long sentence or a long title. So, what is finding your leadership abilities? Second is, why is it important to you to find your leadership ability or abilities? Why is it important? And then third, how do I find my leadership abilities? And that's where I'll weigh in and give you my thoughts, give you some specific strategies and ideas as to how you find your leadership abilities. So those are the three things that we'll cover: the what, the why, the how. We'll summarize, and I'll take a look at some questions. If you have questions, the chat is open as we go forward. I will take a look at it. Sometimes I may stop and answer the question, or I may continue and at the end answer your question. So I am going to share my screen here. I'm new to EarMeet. I normally don't use it. This is Erica's choice in terms of she loves EarMeet. She swears by it. So since she likes it, I love it. So let's share my screen, and I am going to go right into the topic of finding your leadership abilities. As I said, the first thing that we want to determine is, what is finding your leadership abilities? I know this is a quote I think Erica put up and she referenced earlier. And here's a quote by Vince Lombardi. And if you don't know who Vince Lombardi is, the NFL championship trophy, the winner of the NFL championship receives the Vince Lombardi trophy. But you can Google him. But here's this quote: leaders are made and not born. They are made by hard effort, which is the price we all must pay to achieve any goal that is worthwhile. So think about that, right? Leaders are made, not born. And I would like to hear from you. If you can drop that in the comments, what your thoughts are. What do you think? Are leaders made or are they born? What are your thoughts? For me, so not only do I want you to tell me, are they made or are they born, but I want you to provide some supporting documentation or thoughts into why you say what you said. If you think that leaders are made, why do you think that? What is your reason behind you thinking that leaders are made? If you think that leaders are born, why do you think that? So don't just say, well, yes, they're made, or yes, they're born, but back it up. Bring forth your evidence to provide what you said. For me, and I'll tell you that my thought is leaders are made. We all hear the theory, you are born leader. He or she or it is a born leader. But I will differ. I'm on the fence with Vince Lombardi. I'm in his camp where leaders are made. So you say, well, Patrick, why do you think that? See, what happens is that we are born with traits of leadership. We are born with characteristics of leadership. But that doesn't mean that we are born leaders. So how do we go from characteristics or traits to becoming a leader? That's where the made is comes in. That's why we're here. That's why we do leadership development training. That's why we do leadership coaching, because take it from traits to reality. So my supporting documentation or evidence is that I support that leaders are made. Again, we're born with certain traits, but through nurturing and development and coaching and teaching, now we can say that we are, in terms of made, right? So that is my thoughts. What are your thoughts? What do you think? So drop that in the chat. So I just want to start with that. But let's look at finding your leadership abilities. What is finding your leadership abilities? So before we can move into finding, we have to define what it is, right? So let me bring that up here for you. What is finding your leadership abilities? Here it is. Basically, it's understanding your natural strengths, your areas of opportunity or weaknesses, and skills when it comes to leading or influencing people. If you don't have anyone to lead, are you really a leader? Are you really leading? Something to think about. But when we look at a definition of what finding your leadership abilities is, as I said, it's basically having an understanding of what your natural strengths are, what are your areas of opportunity or weaknesses, right? And the skills when it comes to leading or influencing others. So that's the basic definition. But we can go further in terms of what does it involve. So if we know the definition of it, let's look and take it a step further in terms of what does this involve. So it simply involves recognizing that we have our unique talents, recognizing those, recognizing your traits, and the qualities that make you an effective leader. It also involves learning how to use these traits, these talents, and qualities to inspire others and to guide them towards a common goal. So that's what finding your leadership abilities are. The true definition and what it involves. Again, I'll repeat that. It involves recognizing what my individual and unique talents are, because we all have different unique talents that's unique to us. We all have traits that's unique to us as individuals, and we also have qualities, specific qualities that's unique to us, to me, to you, to everyone that is in this audience, that makes us a more effective leader. And here's a key word, because there's a difference between a leader and an effective leader. That's on a higher level. When we talk about effective leaders, that's on a higher level. And learning how to utilize those things that we have to inspire others. No, I didn't say motivate, but I said to inspire and guide others to a common goal, towards a common goal. So now that we know what finding your leadership abilities, what's the definition, let's dive in further. Let's take a next step. And the next step is to really find out, why is it important? So you may say, well, Patrick, why is it important for me to find my leadership abilities? Let's take a deeper dive. John C. Maxwell, one of my favorite authors, and he wrote in his book, Leadership Gold. And he says, people quit people, not companies. You may hear it say in a different way, people quit managers or leaders, not their companies. So this is why it's important as a leader. If you really want to be an effective leader, we want to find out what our leadership abilities are, so that people don't quit us, but they stay with us, that they enjoy being part of the team, that they see value in you being a leader. So this is the first thing as to the reason why we need to find our leadership abilities, so that we can influence our team in a positive way, that we can retain good talent, that we can help them to accomplish their goals, whatever that goal is. Because it's not about us. It's about those that we serve. And how do we serve them? By finding our leadership abilities, by finding what we are strong at, what are some of our weaknesses / areas of opportunity. People quit people, not companies. So let's continue. Why is it important for you, for me, for us to find our leadership abilities? Abilities. Number one, we talked about it, right? The second part of it is when we find our leadership abilities, it enhances the organizational success. So whether you are a small business, you're just getting off the ground, maybe you are a solopreneur, or you have one person on your team, or you are leading a large team for a large organization. Wherever you are in the scope of things, finding your leadership ability will help enhance your organizational success. It also, as I said, inspire team members to achieve their goals and organizational goals. Because if you are proficient with your leadership abilities or your leadership acumen, that inspire others, that inspire your team members. If you're able to communicate effectively, and we'll talk about the how, that inspire team members. If you're able to articulate the goals, the vision, the mission of the organization, if you're able to communicate and find out from your team members what's important to them, that's part of your leadership abilities. It helps to inspire your team and your team members to achieve their individual and collective goals. The third one here, it leads teams to become greater effective or to become more effective. The third one is the fourth one, by finding your leadership abilities, it creates the capacity and the ability for you, the leader, to make better decisions. Because you understand you understand where you're coming from. You're more self-aware. So it allows you to become a better decision maker. And how cool is that? Because I know for us, if you're like me, right? Sometimes that could be a struggle. Should I make the decision now? Should I wait? Can I be more decisive in my decision making? So it comes down to what I think, it comes down to your personality type or what we call your motives and how quick or how slow we are in making decisions. But finding out your leadership abilities will help you to become a better decision maker. And as I said earlier, by becoming a better leader, by finding your individual leadership ability or abilities, it will definitely help in team member retention. As John C. Maxwell says, right? People leave people, not companies. So if you want to retain your members, your team members, then you need to do your due diligence to find out what your leadership abilities are. What are your strengths? What are your areas of opportunities or weaknesses? What do I need to know to become a more self-aware leader? So this is the why. This is why we're saying it's important to you as a leader, whether a new leader or an experienced leader, to really identify what your leadership abilities are. So with that said, I'm gonna park here, and I am going to, let me see if I can do this, see where we are. If you have any questions, let me park it here, come back and see what comments we have here. So if you have any questions, again, just drop them in the comments. Tom, shout out to Tom. Tom says, I think there are natural born leaders, but they're few and far between. Thanks, Tom. Most leaders are made by a lot of learning and experience. Absolutely, Tom. I completely agree. Again, if you have any questions, leaders, let's see. Erica says, maybe it's the situations we're put in and how we handle them. Okay. Let me see. Leaders have influence. Absolutely. Good. So if you have any questions or comments as we go through, because I don't want to go through the entire deck, entire presentation without hearing from you, without hearing what you have to say. If you have any comments or questions, I don't like to be talking to myself. That's boring, right? So let's engage you to make sure that there is a level of understanding. And I'll do that from as I go through from module to module. I'll make a stop to see where you are and how can we move forward and making sure that we become more effective as leaders. So let me continue. Let me continue here. We'll talk about now. So we talked about the what, right? What is finding your leadership ability? Then we talk about the reason why. I give you 5 or 6 specific reasons why it's important that as a leader, we find our leadership ability. So let's look at the how. Let's look at the nuts and bolts of it. And these are the hows from my perspective. I'm sure that you have yours, right? Others may have theirs, but I'm going to give it to you from my perspective. See, not only do I train and develop and coach leaders, I lead a team, but I've also led teams in corporate America. So I come to you with 27, 28 years of leadership development, leadership training, and leadership coaching. So this is not theory. This is actually doing from a practical perspective. So it's not book knowledge, it's practical knowledge. So let's look at how. Number one, we need to find or become what we call a more self-aware leader. So Patrick, what does that mean to become a more self-aware leader? So find out in terms of you, right? What is it about you? What drives you? What are some of your strengths? What are some of your weaknesses? How do people see you? How do you show up? So all these things go into becoming a more self-aware leader, right? So how do we find out how people see us? See, sometimes we see ourselves one way. We may see ourselves as great. We may think that we're the greatest since sliced bread. But others may see a different us, a different you. So we need to be more self-aware. How do we communicate with others? When we go into a room, do people move away from us? Or do people come to us? So self-awareness could be a broad topic, but you really need to identify what are some of the strengths, what are some of the areas of opportunity. When I show up, how do I show up? What is my communication style? Am I articulate? Do people understand what I say? What is the impact of my communication? So those are things, some of the things that goes in when we talk about self-awareness. So how do we find that out, right? We need to do, which is number 2, a self-assessment of us. So when I myself and my team, when we go into an organization, small or large, we do a couple of things here. When we're training or developing leaders, we ask the leader to do a self-assessment with specific things. How do they think they see themselves, and more importantly, how does their team see them? What is their communication style? Is it effective, somewhat effective, very effective, not effective? What is your leadership style? How do you show up? What are some of your strengths and areas of opportunity? How effective are you as it relates to leaders or to leadership? So we have you do a self-assessment, right? That's a survey. Then we also now go to your team. And we says, okay, here we are engaging or developing, let's say it's Erica as your leader, and we need some feedback. And what we do, the same questions that we ask the leader, we ask the team. How is Erica as it relates to communication? How does she communicate? What is her leadership style? How would you say or describe her leadership style? How does Erica show up when she comes into work, when she's in a meeting? What are some strengths and areas of opportunity for Erica? On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest, how would you rate Erica's leadership effectiveness? Because you want to know. You want to know how others think of you. What is their feedback of you? And sometimes how you see yourself and how others see you may be a match. But most of the times, how we see ourselves and how others see us through feedback, there may be some gaps. So now when there are some gaps, our job now, as when we are training and developing, is to help you create a plan to close those gaps. If we are coaching you, your job, not my job, but your job as the person being coached or coachee, is to create a plan that will help close those gaps. So we don't do it for you, you do it. And then what we do is to maybe ask questions and take a look at it. But that's the second part of it. The second step is your self-assessment, an assessment of you, and then seeking feedback from others around you. So maybe you don't have a team, but you have a community. So you can go to your community and get feedback. If you need help in that area, let us help you. We're here to help you. We're here to be your trainer or your coach. So we can help you with that. But without feedback, there's no growth. So that's the second one, is self-assessment and feedback. Let's continue. So as I said, after you receive the feedback, now it's time for you to create your leadership plan to close those gaps. If everything is on par, right, where you look at yourself one way, those around you, whether it's your team or your community, whoever it is that you're giving, that you are requesting feedback from, if everything looks good, you don't need to create the leadership plan. But if there are any gaps in terms of how you see yourself, how others see you, Now it's time for you to create what we call a leadership plan for success. Finding your leadership abilities. The next step is your commitment to leadership development. I haven't come across any successful leader at any level, small or large, that does not commit to their own personal and professional development. Yes, Patrick, it costs. Absolutely, there's a difference between a cost and an investment. But if you truly want to become an effective leader, there's no shortcut here in committing to your own leadership development. If you truly want to take your abilities to the next level, if you truly want to become great, there is a level of commitment that you need to look at. The first, when we are doing training and coaching, we use a tool which is called the SDI, Strength Deployment Inventory. And that's where you find out what drives you, right? What truly drives you, what makes you do the things that you do. And that's an assessment of you, but we also do it for our clients with their teams. And so once you identify what drives you, why you do the things that you do, what makes you tick, and now your team does the same assessment, and you identify what makes them tick, right? How to communicate with them. What are their conflict triggers so that you don't push them into conflict? They know what your conflict triggers are. We're building a team. We're helping you to find your leadership ability or abilities. The second step in your commitment to leadership development is realizing that there has to be a level of continuous training and development. What does that mean? Trainings like these, investing in you. We have a hashtag that we use, hashtag invest in you. Note I didn't say look at the price or the cost, right? We say investment, because when you invest in something, there's usually a return. So you have to invest in you to really find out what is your leadership abilities and how can I take myself from where I currently am to where I should be and where I desire to be. Newsflash, folks, none of us are to the point where we should be as it relates to leadership abilities or leadership effectiveness. There's always growth. We can always improve. If you think that you are to the point where there's no level of improvement, you're looking for disaster. So seek out continuous training. I'm biased, so I will say seek out the Jackman Group LLC leadership training and coaching. That's bias, right? If you don't like us, that's fine. We can recommend that you seek someone else. The next one is invest in a coach. I hope you realize there's a difference between training and coaching. And I've done a series on this for about a month because it drives me crazy. The buzzword now is coach. Everyone wants to be a coach. Everyone is in coaching. But do you really understand the difference between training and coaching? I don't want to get onto my soapbox because it drives me crazy, because most people don't know that there's a difference between training and coaching and don't understand the difference. But I invite you to, if you want to check it out in terms of what we've said, and I've taught extensively on this. I've done a series through our live broadcasts. to 30, do me a favor, go to our YouTube channel under the Jackman Group LLC, and we have all of our sessions there. You can go check out last year what we talked about training and coaching. But you need to invest in a coach. Again, if you look at the great leaders, if you look at those that go on to greatness, well, in anything, whether it's in sports or politics or business, they all have coaches. And a coach has a coach. Because we sometimes need others to ask us the questions to uncover the blind spots, because we all have blind spots. So they're not going to tell us what to do if you're a good coach, but they'll ask the question to bring us to a point of self-awareness where we can see our blind spots. So invest in a coach. Don't look at it as a cost on the bottom line. Look at it as an investment, because you will get a return. So those are some of the reasons how to find, some of the strategies, I should say, how to find your leadership abilities. As we continue, and I'll go through this last slide quickly here, is that understand there's a difference between EQ, which is emotional intelligence, and IQ. Your IQ does not equate to your EQ, right? You may have a high IQ, but when it comes to your emotional intelligence, there's some gaps there. So you understand the difference between EQ and IQ. What is your emotional intelligence? What does it look like? Understanding what it is first and foremost. The next step in terms of how to find your leadership effectiveness or your leadership ability is to implement the plan. Don't just write the plan down. Don't just create the plan, but work the plan. Implement the plan. So what is a plan? A plan is made up of three things, right? Your objective, your strategy, and your action steps. Objective, strategy, action steps. That's your plan. That's a plan. And then start to look at, what are my critical thinking skills? Do I have any critical thinking skills? Do I know what critical thinking skills are? That's something that we can expand on. Second to last, gain experience. When it comes to leadership, how do we become more effective as a leader? By being a leader. By practicing. Whether it's volunteer, right? So you can volunteer, whether it's in the community or at your church, volunteer in a level, in a space of leadership, so that you can enhance your leadership ability, so you can sharpen your tools. And last but not least, practice, practice, practice. Practice does not make perfect. Well, perfect practice makes permanent. I'll say that again. Practice does not make perfect, but perfect practice makes permanent. So practice, 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 but be intentional in your practicing. If your gap is in communication, meaning you don't communicate effectively and that was identified, now you need to really practice that. You need to become more articulate. You need to practice that. If you need to improve how you say things, if that was identified as a gap, you need to practice that. If you need to be more compassionate with your team members and others around you, if that was identified in your feedback, you need to put that as a plan, implement it through practice, 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 practice. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we wrap up here, and I provide a summary for you, Here's some key things. Remember that finding your leadership abilities is an ongoing process. It's not something that you start today and end tomorrow. It's an ongoing process. It requires you to become more self aware as a leader. It requires additional learning and ongoing learning and practice. Go to more training sessions, more seminars, more masterminds. Sign up for the Jackman Group newsletter. Let us come in to help you and your team, and practice. Perfect practice makes permanent. And lastly, you should always have a strong desire and a passion to improve. Go from where you are to where you desire to be. So I hope this was helpful. I want to thank you for uh, coming in to the Virtual Summiteers. And if there's anything that we can do to help you, certainly let us know how we can do that. Now, Erica, I'll throw it back over to you.
Hey, Patrick. That was great. Thank you. I think my favorite thing is when you started off by saying, cool nerds coming to have fun.
We're cool nerds. It's okay to be cool. Everyone wants a nerd now, right? Before it was nerds, stay away. Now everyone's like, nerds, be my friend.
I believe it. So, Patrick, tell everyone what's your favorite social media hangout spot? Where are you
Normally,
mostly?
for our client base, for our target market is LinkedIn. So you can either go to my personal LinkedIn page, uh, Patrick Jackman, or you can go to our company's LinkedIn page, which is the Jackman Group LLC.
Okay. And I want to give a testimonial about the Jackman Group's newsletter. It's amazing. It's like, it's really short, not too much strolling. All I can say is that it's amazing. You get tips right away, like actionable tips right away in a short email. So, yay for that.
That's by design. You know, sometimes we see things come out. It's like 3 4 pages long. You're like, I don't have time. We don't have
We just
time.
don't want to.
Right? Just I look at it and I say, okay, 3 4 pages. Not looking at it.
Yeah,
So
I can't. I I drown in a sea of emails. I get like 400 emails a day, and I'm like, select all, marked as read, so I don't have to see them. But when I see Patrick Jackman of the Jackman Group, I'm like, ooh, I know it's going to be something good.
well, thank you,
So
Erica.
yeah,
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah, I'm glad I'm on your email list. So
Thank you.
everyone, Patrick, would you happen to have a link to your email list? Because seriously, everyone does need to get on that.
Yeah, let me I'll find that for you and I will get that for you in a minute here. I should you would think that I would have that right off, right?
Maybe it's one of the things I should have put in the resources because I do like your emails or your newsletter. So, and I do appreciate you making those. Um, I want to tell everyone who's watching this recording, who's watching a live stream, that if you want to hang out with more cool people like Patrick Jackman of the Jackman Group, join the Virtual Summiteers Mastermind Group because we only hang out with brilliant people. So if you want more time with them, you got to join us. So, everyone that's with us here live, we're going to close down the session and we're going to meet up on the section that says Talk with Patrick. So, let's see all of you there in the section marked Talk with Patrick. And Patrick just dropped a link to the newsletter. So, everyone get that because it truly is something good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So join
So,
our community. We would love to have you be part of it, so you get the first of everything. We will have Erica, as you know, we have a coaching program that's in session right now, and we're going to open it up and have a second one. Uh, I think that would probably be coming in the fall, but you want to make sure. So we have 7 dynamic leaders now in our group training, group coaching program, and we're going to offer it in the fall. So make sure that you are on our community, um, join our community so that you know firsthand when it is coming, because it's coming. And I look forward to it. As you know, Erica, my passion and my purpose, not my passion, but my purpose is to develop people, specifically leaders.
Yep, I believe that. Well, everyone, if you want to talk more with Patrick, we're going to leave this session and we're going to go to the session marked Talk with Patrick. We'll see y'all the next session.